This is Mike, a renowned New York Times bestseller and one of the greatest financial minds. But his life didn't start off as you would have expected.
I became a self-made millionaire for the first time in my life at age 32. I couldn't sustain it. And within 2 years, I wiped out everything we had.
Wow.
My accountant just called me and said, Mike, you have to declare bankruptcy.
And from that moment, everything changed.
When you and I master our mind around money, the finances align themselves.
In this rare interaction, Mike will reveal new ways of making and managing money.
It's all about just getting started. It's all about the mind.
Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Romain. Thanks, and welcome to New Jersey.
Of course, thank you so much. I appreciate you welcoming me in your office.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you have been pretty much at the forefront when it comes to implementing ways and strategies to best manage your money. Walk me through kind of what has been your life and your experience as well.
Well, this is a subject that's a total passion of mine, profitability. And you can see there's comments about profit and poverty and wealth management because I struggled with it. In fact, you might see a picture right there. That's a picture of myself, aged, future aged about 25 years, so I'm in my 70s. Every time I come in here, I'm saying, is this guy happy about how I'm handling my finances? I want to make sure that I'm always making decisions in the moment that are impacting my current self, but also my future self. So this became important to me because my younger self was not good with finances.
Oh.
Give a little context, I graduated college, I had a finance degree.
Nice.
I saw the movie Wall Street, I thought I knew everything about finances, greed is good. And I started a business because I heard the most successful way to make, or the best way to make a lot of money is to have your own business. So I said, yeah, okay. And there was other events around that, but I started my own business. And I was successful in that I was growing the revenue, which is not profitability, as you too well know, and the listeners know too. But I thought if I simply kept on selling, I could sell my way to success. Ultimately, I did not make that business profitable, but another group bought the company from me. So I made a little bit of money.
Nice. How much are we speaking?
Hundreds of thousands.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
which is
that's
great.
good.
Yeah.
At what age? How old were you at the time?
28, 29.
That's a good first shot.
Totally. But what was interesting is, at least in the US, that isn't life-changing money. You get it. Most of the modern world, it's not. But in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm a genius. What I have to do is start companies, build them quickly and sell them, and that's how you make your money.
Okay.
My second company, I was involved in computer crime investigations.
Wow.
So yeah, it was really an interesting space. I'm sure you've heard of the Enron trial. Our company did the lead defense analysis on that.
Okay.
The business exploded. I was bringing people on board. We had a nice office. We had all this special stuff, and it was not profitable. Within, I think, our third year, we were on a run for $7 million in revenue. We bootstrapped the company. I had a partner, and we didn't put any money into it.
So bootstrap, just for the audience, is when you don't rely on outsource investment. You're
Right.
coming with your own funds.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's bringing money from friends and family. And, for example, myself, my YouTube channel is fully bootstrap. I haven't searched from any forms of outside investments.
Beautiful. Which, by the way, I think is the best way to grow a business. Because every dollar you spend, you feel it.
That's right.
It hurts. It burns. When you take other people's money,
It's easy.
it's easy. Hey, I need the nice furniture. I need the nice setup. So we bootstrapped it,
Nice.
and it still wasn't healthy. I was hiring people, always thinking that we need to sell more to get there. And I thought, once we get to 1 million, the profits will present themselves. They didn't. Maybe it was 2, 5, 7. It never did. Wow. That company, I became a self-made millionaire for the first time in my life at age 32, 33. I call it the moment millionaire because when taxes came, then I was back out of the millionaire status. So it was significant.
Millionaire for one day.
Yeah, I was a millionaire for a day. I was a one-day millionaire. What happened, my ego exploded. I said, now I've got this. I just got to build them faster, quicker, and dump them faster. And the finances don't matter as long as you're selling. That's why I really believe that. I started 10 more companies as an angel investor.
Okay.
I sucked at it. It was not my propensity. I call myself the angel of death now. I'm definitely not an angel investor.
Angel investor as well, again, for context, is when you're generally funding a company at very, very early stage, and you're betting on the fact that it's going to rocket. Generally, success rate in that field is very low.
Very low.
But you're hoping that, oh, am I going to get the next Uber? Am I going to get the next,
Correct.
Whatever type of company that has the chance to scale and rocket?
Yeah. Now, I didn't understand that part, that it's a 1 in 100 chance. I was like, if I'm here, they'll all be successful. Because look at me. That's such a big ego. And I'm actually ashamed and embarrassed that I've acted that way. But it also caused this realignment. All those businesses fell apart. I was putting money into them and putting good money after bad money because they were collapsing. I also started living large. I got the nice car, got the vacation home, all those things.
Lifestyle inflation.
Yeah, lifestyle inflation. I couldn't sustain it. And within 2 years, I wiped out everything we had.
Wow.
The defining moment in how Profit First and all this stuff came about was I came home to my family on Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2008. I'll never forget the moment. My accountant had just called me and said, Mike, you have to declare bankruptcy. He goes, I can't believe I'm even saying this to you. You've been so successful, but this is not sustainable. And he's like, you also have a tax bill that I don't know how you're going to pay, because I had nothing. I had zero left. Wow. The only way to pay it was to lose our house, to liquidate our assets. So I went home to my family to say, we can declare bankruptcy or we can get rid of the assets. And my wife had no clue this was coming.
You were hiding everything through the whole time.
Yeah. She goes, how's business going? I'm like, it's good. We're one client away. And Romain, you've been there. I'm sure you have, that you think that if I just get that next client, if that one deal comes through, now I'm there.
Yeah.
And that's what I was hoping for. And that one deal never gets you through. It never does, but you think it will. But the one deal didn't appear. I went home. I told my wife we're going to lose our house. We lost it 30 days later. We had to move out.
Wow.
We lost our assets, everything. My daughter, she was 9 years old at the time. She goes, Daddy, I'm crying in front of my family. I have 3 children. And I say, we have no money now. I'm sorry. And my daughter says, but can I go to horseback riding lessons? It costs $20 to give you a context. For a group session, if 10 kids go and they practice for
pretty affordable.
Yeah, pretty affordable, yeah. A group of kids. And I said, I can't. And she just starts crying. She ran out of the room. Now, I thought she was running away from me. She ran as fast as she could to her bedroom and she grabbed this piggy bank. She'd been saving to buy a horse one day. She ran back to me and she goes, Daddy. And she puts it on the table. She goes, I'll pay all of our bills. I got emotional right now. That's 15 years ago, more. And that was the moment that became the seed for change. Now, here's one last little bow on this kind of ugly gift I got. It wasn't like I woke up the next morning and said, oh, I have to work on profitability, or, oh, I got to fix this. I went to depression. I started to drink a lot. I barely drink now. I went through 2 years of struggling. But I always look back in that moment and said, why am I such an idiot? Why don't I understand profitability? It became a commitment to study it. I've been studying profitability since 2008 till 2025, and I will for the rest of my life, to figure out not just the financial aspects. We get taught that in all the accounting books in the world, but to understand the behavioral componentry, the mindset around profit. Because when you and I master our mind around money, the finances align themselves. And that's why I wrote Profit First and all the stuff I do with this subject.
So guys, here, as you've gotten a little bit of context, I want you to please pay close attention to some of the next components that are really going to change in some ways the perception that you have around money. And we're going to use the business case of myself, but you will see how we apply this not only to a business or a side hustle that you may be wanting to venture into, but also to your own finances. And so this is kind of naturally led us to, over the years, you've kind of had that ooha moment, I believe, watching TV at some point. Something arise that made you lead to all this kind of philosophy around money and change in behavior. Walk me through what happened there.
Yeah, so after we lose our home, we moved into another home. We had friends going to Europe for a work sabbatical for 2 years, and they were looking for a house sitter. They knew the circumstances that I brought upon us, and they said, hey, why don't you be our house sitters? They gifted us their home.
At the right time, too.
At the right time, yeah. I'm so grateful for the Smiths. And during that time, I was watching television one particular night. When you have depression, it's really hard to sleep. So it'd be like 3 o'clock in the morning, and there's nothing on but infomercials. And this infomercial comes on with a fitness instructor. And the fitness instructor starts sharing these principles around physical fitness. And as I'm listening to him, I'm like, that answers my fiscal, financial fitness issue. She talked, one of the things that blew my mind away, and this is one of the core principles now in Profit First, is the general setup of food is that we get one big plate. You know, if we had lunch together, you have your vegetables and meats and potatoes. It's all served on one big plate. That plate, that container dictates the portion. The larger the plate, the larger the portion.
That's right.
The larger the portion, the larger the consumption. And societally, over the last 300 years, plates have doubled in size, portions have doubled in size. Our waistlines as a society, particularly in the US, has doubled in size. What she said is the solution isn't these fad diets. It's not absolute discipline in what you eat. She goes, just get the smaller containers. Throw out your dining plates and use coffee saucers as your dining plate going forward. And it's forced control. It contains your spend or consumption. Profit First is based upon, you said, multiple accounts. You and I are both big fans of Relay. They're awesome. At Relay, I have all these different accounts set up. Each one is a plate, if you will. And so if I had $1,000 that comes into my business, I don't have $1,000 anymore. I used to think I have 1,000 in, I have 1,000 to spend. I carve it up to different plates. And so now I know, $1,000 is attributed, maybe 10% of that, $100, to profit, my future self, that picture we were looking at. Another 15%, $150, is attributed to taxes that are going to come in the future. And another percent is allocated toward the operations of the business, so I can buy this cool equipment you have and stuff. And another percentage is to pay myself a salary. Many owners don't pay themselves, and so forth. You can have, well, I now have 15, 20 accounts, but there's this foundational 5 accounts that I think every business should have. And it's based upon this physical fitness expert.
That's right. I mean, Mike pretty much redefined the way we look at money and profitability. One of the big things that was really iconic about you is generally, in common sense, we say, income minus expenses equal profit. Right? And that's generally how most business in the United States are being run. You're, pushing towards increasing your income. Hopefully expenses don't increase as much. And then what's left over, that's the profit.
Yeah.
But you're flipping on that equation.
Yes.
What is that?
The greatest savings mechanism, at least in US history, has been the 401k. It's a retirement plan. Now the 401k functions is if you and I are employed by a company and we get a salary, say $100,000 a year. We don't get $100,000 of checks during that year. We get a net pay. Out of that comes tax liabilities, so the government's paid, but also 401k, which is a retirement. And what happens is people adjust their behavior off of the remainder. So while people say, I make $100,000, they live off of $60,000, whatever the number is a year, and that's the lifestyle they have. The concept is when you take care of those elements first, we naturally adjust to what's left over. There's a behavioral concept called Parkinson's law. As the supply increases, we consume more. As it decreases, we actually consume less. Forced frugality. So in Profit First, what we say is most businesses, $1,000 comes in and we're going to spend all the money we need to spend and we'll see what's left over. But Parkinson's law states, well, if you have $1,000, you'll find a way to spend $1,000. If you, and I know we were talking earlier, you work for Amazon, you had a pretty darn good salary. I strongly suspect as your salary increased, your lifestyle likely increased. It's human nature. We expand to meet what's available. So by taking or flipping the formula, every time $1,000 or whatever the dollar amount comes into your business, we take a predetermined percentage, remove it from your business, then you live, the business lives off the remainder. And sure enough, it will adjust. You and I have made less money in parts of our lives and we've made more money. Life generally seems to be pretty consistent, happy, sad. It's pretty much the same regardless of the money you make. So it's not money that's driving us, it's the usage of money. And when we are in a constrained situation, less money available, we find a way to still thrive with less money. So we're intentionally taking that profit away, hiding it from your business, ensuring profit, and forcing you, the business, to operate off what it truly should operate off of.
Yeah, I think, and I fully agree with what you've been mentioning, Mike. We'll be revealing my finances soon, where you're going to see this in true application of how do I apply this for a business like YouTube. But at its root, what I think is very important to notice is this whole concept of when you're working of a smaller, though thoughtful, amount of expenses or the amount of money that you've allocated yourself to operate in a way that still increases your income,
Yeah.
you're kind of being naturally forced to find unique ways to make work more for less.
Totally.
I mean, how long ago has it been since you've published Profit First, or first introduced the methodology to the world?
The book came out 10 years ago. I first started introducing it about 13, 14 years ago. I used to write for the Wall Street Journal and started putting it out there.
So walk me through some actual true examples that will speak to our audience of where this has actually come to play.
Okay. Well, I'm going to share first a shocking one with you because I heard it in your own voice when you came in this room. Before we started recording, we were talking about Las Vegas.
That's right.
Yeah, you live there. And you look at me and you go, you can get flights for $30 some places. And it's like, oh, this guy's doing profit first. What's so interesting is when you start taking your profit first and you start living in constraints, we consciously and subconsciously start adjusting our behavior and spend. You found a way to fly from Las Vegas to New Jersey economically, or you found a sponsor to support your pay, or you found all these alternatives. The funny thing is that if you had $100,000 in your bank, or whatever the number is, you may say, first class, let me just go. We just go with the first choice. But when we have constraint, we find solutions. So you're a perfect profit first example in just that one little demonstration. Another favorite story, because they're so popular now, is Savannah Bananas. I got a card from Jesse Cole, the founder, 8 years ago. I'm sitting in the office and this piece of mail comes in. My assistant runs over. She's like, you got a weird piece of mail. It's a baseball card with this guy dressed in all yellow with the cap on. And I'm like, what is it? In the back, he said, your system has transformed our lives. And it says owner of Savannah Bananas. I'm like, what the hell is that? So I look them up and they're this all-star baseball team, college athletes, never heard of them before, but now everyone's heard of them. They are the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. They've redefined baseball. They've made it into entertainment. As Jesse puts it, he goes, there's one problem with baseball. It's boring. It's really boring. So he goes, I want to have entertainment between the boring parts. So baseball is just the foundation of the activity and sportsmanship, but the reality is it's a show. It's a circus of some sorts. He says, but we got to do this profitably. This is my life. I'm devoting to it. The average minor league all-star baseball team will get about 200 to 300 guests to a game, and they pay $10 a ticket. You're making $2,000 to $3,000 per game, and you have to have a stadium functioning.
What's the cost for that?
Yeah, $5,000 to $10,000. So you actually lose $3,000 to $5,000 per night that you have a baseball game. So baseball owners of these micro teams are generally very wealthy people that want to say, I own a team, but it's a loss. It's a tax benefit, if anything. Jesse says, I got to make this work. So he runs profit first. Well, he gets his first $3,000. He takes 10% of that $300, puts in profit. He goes, I have $2,700. Because I can't even operate my scoreboard. Now, here's the miracle moment. He says, I can't operate my scoreboard. He goes, I'm not going to have a scoreboard. He goes, what would a baseball team if they can't track score on the scoreboard? He goes, I'm going to invite the audience in. And he got these little signs like between bouts of a boxing match where people from the stadium would walk around, and the people loved doing it. And what Jesse did that we all can do is when you put constraint in your business, you find ways to still deliver, but they're innovative. They're usually ideas that the industry isn't doing. He said he wanted to have like a mascot and cheerleaders, but he's like, I can't afford anyone. So he went to the audience and said, if anyone's here is over 80 years old, and if you don't have teeth, that's even better, we want you on the Grandma Banana Squad. And now they have these 80-year-old women dancing around, and people lose their minds. Jesse is highly innovative. Emily, his wife, they're extraordinary business operators. He also points that profit first forced him to live at the edge of innovation, to redefine the industry. And I would say anyone that implements profit first, the first resistance I'll hear is, yeah, but if I don't have any money, how am I going to grow my business? You don't grow your business through use of money as much as you do use of your mind. Innovative strategies, redefining industry, challenging the norms, that's where real growth happens. Money is necessary, but it is not foundational. We also have to make sure you're sustainable. So you take your profit, we make sure your business can continue to operate, you can keep thinking, you don't have worry, you focus forward. That's the best way to grow your business.
So ultimately, I mean, pretty much that led them to crazy success, right? For the Savannah Banana.
Yeah, the Savannah Bananas today they're touring stadiums where they're selling out professional ball leagues, professional major league stadiums. I think they had their last game, they had 60,000 people there. It was in Fenway, Boston. Huge numbers of people showing this. He's all over television. The best part is their profitability. They are more profitable than any, of course, minor league team. They're more profitable than many major league teams on a percentage basis, meaning they make more percent per dollar than any of these major league teams. They've nailed the system.
What a great example. But now, let's kind of bring it down a little bit more into me and you, or maybe most of the people that are watching here.
Yeah.
How should they think about implementing something like this? I mean, I'm going to actually right away share with you the example of how I did it when it comes to my YouTube channel. So, guys, I mean, if you're watching, this YouTube has been going on for about a year or so. And at the very beginning, well, you kind of spending money on things that are not going to give you much return, right? So I did forefront some money. I actually invested about $20,000 or so in the business just to have a base. I need an editor, I need to understand how a thumbnail works, and so on and so forth. And then from that point, as I was running it for the first couple months, well, I've started to have sponsors, such as the sponsor of this video here, Relay, that I've been speaking with you guys a lot about. And I think when it comes to implementing some of the philosophy and profit-first methodology and strategies that we've been discussing, they're the number one, right?
For sure.
And we are actually going to be sharing some real shots of my own Relay account when it comes to the YouTube channel. And I want for you to audit and tell me a little bit about what you thought. Now, I'm still playing I'm still playing the long game. I'm not here bringing hundreds of thousands of dollars, but as humble as it is, look, it's not about the true amount. It's more about building the round foundations for hopefully maybe when it comes, but not just applicable to this business, to any other forms of business. I wanted to have the right system in play. I'm going to share the juice with you.
All right.
Don't be crazy about numbers, but it is what it is. We have to start with something. So
let's see what you got here.
This, my friend, is kind of my status. And as Mike mentioned, I've organized my accounts into precisely 5 different accounts.
Yeah.
You first have your income.
Yeah.
Walk me through, what is that income account?
So I want to give you my first impression. I'm proud of you because the vast majority of businesses have not implemented any form of profitability. They think it's something that's going to happen someday. It has to happen today. So the fact you have this set up, the funny thing is, I don't know anything about your business. Instantly, I know how much profit you have. I also know how much money is available for operating expenses. You maybe put $20,000 in, you're generating income. We don't have $20,000 spent, I can see. Any consideration, we're working with a $12,250 budget. And that's the power of the system. Just by logging in, okay, I see we've secured you some pay. You got $2,000 plus bucks for you. Your tax reserve. Someone can instantly, within seconds, understand where your business stands. So that's good. Looking at income, what I would do typically is I would click on your income account and then drill down and see what your deposit flows are like. So what I would do, there's a balance in here. I would ask, and I'm asking you now, do you have a regular frequency that you're allocating your money out?
So I have implemented some of the concepts that you mentioned. I know that you personally recommend on the 10th and on the 25th of the month to have automatic distribution. So when the money comes into the income account, this is pretty much a temporary position, and then it gets split percentage-wise to the different of their account.
So you're doing it semi-monthly.
That's right.
That's excellent. Here's why that's so good, and I can see in your account. Your account has some money in here. That means there's money accumulating. When we do this on the 10th and 25th, or whatever days are you pick, we will see a normal dollar amount in your income account that we allocate out. When we do this over time, every 10th and 25th, you'll say, normally I have $10,000, but this month I have $20,000, or this week. That's more than I expected. This is good. What do I need to do to keep this up? And other times you'll say, well, normally it's $10,000, it's only $6,000. Why is this less? What's going wrong in the business? It's a good way to get a quick assessment of our cash flow.
Because most business owners generally, they look at the account, they say, oh, I have enough money, and thank you, see you next month.
Yeah. The question is, what's my consistency? We want to understand what is the consistency and predictability of the account. We want to be able to forecast. Now, listen, business income's volatile. It's not like you make...
especially mine that I'm in too, it's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You get the sponsor and stuff. But when it's less than you start to expect, you'll start questioning yourself, and you'll start correcting your business accordingly. So the next thing I look at is the profit account. I also want to point out what I love about this is you have the sequence right. So you have income first, then profit, and then owner's pay, owner's comp. That's an important thing. There's a psychological reason behind this. So it causes a dopamine response. When you take money from income and you first transfer to profit or first see profit, you feel a reward mechanism. Dopamine, serotonin is released. I am curious why profit's only 5%. You're in a service-based business. I know you're a brand new startup. Are you increasing profitability each quarter?
So for the most part of last year, I was deeply unprofitable.
Okay.
So it is only recently, over the course of the past 3 months or so, that I started to put into the profit one.
Okay.
Just because I was, kind of...
You were just pulling from the money you put in.
Yes.
Okay.
At first, I started very simple with about 1 or 2%, and since things have been catching up a little bit, I'm hoping to progress more and more. My goal is hopefully by 2025 to reach about 15% or so of profit. That's kind of my target.
That's great. Okay, so you went from a C to a B plus. Here's what I like: the fact that you're increasing your profit is amazing. The fact you have it here is amazing. One of the things I would have challenged you if I knew you back then is let's do 5% profit even when you have no business. And you say, but I have no business. We want to have that profit habit from day one. So when the first transaction comes in, we're taking profit. What profit will do is it forces us to have less money available to spend, which may point that maybe our margins aren't right. Maybe we actually need to charge more, or maybe there's efficiencies. So by taking profit, it starts revealing what's broken in the business that we can't see if we don't take profit. So the only tweak I would have done is, oh, we should start taking profit sooner, even though I know it's very painful and it doesn't feel logical. It's not. It's behavioral. But the fact you're increasing it, dude, that's pretty good. Owner's pay, love it. I wish that was a higher number. We have to get there. You're taking 10% of your income. The one technique you can do is as a form of income targeting. What we can do is say, well, how much money reasonably would you be like to be taking home, regardless of the operations of this business, over the next year? I like to get back to a 6-figure salary. If I was making 100,000, okay. Then what we can do is very quickly reverse calculate and say, well, 100,000 you want to take home, but you're only taking 10%. That's $1 million you need to earn to make a $100,000 salary. That's a pretty big ask. Maybe our owner's comp should be a higher percentage. So it reveals things like that. The fact you're doing it is big. The thing I had to tell people about Profit First is so many people are afraid to do it because they want to make sure they're doing it right. And Profit First is all about just getting started. The percentages, the system reveals itself as you move along. So in many cases, you won't get it right. There is really no right. There's a perfect system for you. But if you don't get started, you'll never figure out your percentages.
And the other thing is, for the most part, if you're doing this with any other form of big banks, sometimes they kind of cut yourself. Oh, sorry, you only have access to one checking account, or you have countless amount of fees.
Yeah.
But we both know, I personally have been using Relay because you can open like this, no minimum balances, and this kind of helps you right from the get-go to make sure that you're actually using it.
Yeah.
And kind of trial and error, I'm not an expert. You're seeing my finances. I'm not showcasing here hundreds of thousands of dollars. But I know at my root that maybe it's the YouTube business or any future business that I have. Just implementing the behavior and the strategy will make me want to, just generally do better. And so as we progress through it, we have the taxes as well, about 15% that gets automatically taken. And then operating expenses. The goal ultimately is to kind of shrink that percentage so that as your income grows. Isn't that right?
That's exactly right. So what we do is when we look at this, we can reflect at this and say, wow, this business has a lot of expenses. We know instantly that 70% of your money is going to the operations of the business. We want to shrink that. So it also inherently sets goals and objectives. We want to run a leaner company. We haven't yet. We're getting there. As income increases, as we learn what clients are better, which ones are worse, we'll be able to amplify these percentages.
Now, there is one thing as well that, I've also be tempted to personally is, sometimes when I see like a profit line or even taxes and maybe I don't have the funds to fulfill the operating expense, I want to tap into it.
But there's a word for that.
Yeah.
It's called being a human being. Dude, that's normal.
You actually have a take when it comes to something like this that kind of prevents that behavior or just that encouragement of getting into profits too fast. Yeah. What do you do? I'm doing it myself sometimes.
Yeah. So first of all, it's a normal behavior to want to steal. The second you want to take from another account, we do have to have this awareness. And Profit First forces this. It makes it conscious that you're taking from somewhere else. And now you have to be cognizant of that decision. When all the money is glummed together, You just say, oh, I have the money and I spend it. Now you're realizing, uh-oh, I'm hurting my business. And you'll feel the pain if you do that. But the question, of course, is how do you prevent yourself from doing that so you focus back on what really needs to be done, which is improving your business. Anytime you steal from another account, it's telling you there's something wrong in the business. You got to fix the business. So remove temptation is a technique. Relay is built around Profit First. So they have all these tools built in.
Pause. I know this has been a lot of information for many of you, and this can feel sometimes a little bit overwhelming. And you may be wondering, Romain, how can I bring this to reality? Well, let me introduce you to Relay. Relay has been my preferred business banking partner, and they allow you the chance to implement Profit First the best way by giving you the opportunity to open up to 20 checking accounts, as well as create percentage-based transfers. And they have a user-friendly platform that makes it very easy for you as a business owner to interact with your accountant, your bookkeepers, and more. Whether you are an entrepreneur thinking about that side hustle, I encourage you guys to check out Relay by following the link in the description below.
The old school way was you would find some rando bank that's, you're in Vegas, you get one in Reno, so you got a long ass drive to get there. You tell them, I don't want online banking, I'm just gonna deposit money in here for my taxes. And once a year I'll come, or once a quarter, to pay my tax bill, but otherwise I don't want to see the money. Removing temptation, the idea is to get out of sight, out of mind. When you don't see something, you're less likely to depend on it.
Like a 401k, for example.
Like a 401k. This is a perfect example. The 401k also has punitive consequences. If you take that money, they penalize you. You're like, and it slows us down. There's a trick with credit cards. If you have a credit card and you're that type of person that abuses credit cards, but you still want to have one in case there's an emergency, put it in a plastic bag, put it in a block of ice and keep it in your freezer. And listen, the card's still there, but you have to wait before you can use it. The concept's similar here. So remove temptation, set up an account that you can't see or view, block your view from it. We go to an extreme here. The president of our company, you met her, Kelsey, when you were coming in, has a username for one of our accounts, but I have the password, which means when we need to get into our emergency, or it's actually our tax account, she can enter the username, but I have to come in and enter the password, but she doesn't know. So both of us have to say, yeah, we want to access this, and then we get into it.
Excellent. So we've spoken a little bit now together about application into a business setting or a side venture. But your philosophy and strategy applies in everyday life, in how you also manage personal finance. And I think this is also going to speak to many of you here watching, guys. How would you implement some of those components in just a regular life, even for people that are W-2, for example?
If you're not doing Profit First or some version of appropriate financial management at home, you're still screwed. Like, you can nail it in your business, but if you're struggling at home, you're blowing money and stuff, what happens, that entrepreneur will start leeching off of their business. So the business may be fiscally healthy, but they're not. Everyone's going down. I've also seen the reverse. People that have wealth personally, they've nailed it and they're starting that business, but the business is struggling. They keep on feeding the business and their lifestyle collapses and everyone loses. So you have to get the numbers right at work and you have to get them right at home.
But at its root, it still remains the mental behavior of trying to achieve more while still being intentional with how you spend your money.
Yeah.
It's some of the recommendations that you apply in Profit First are some of the same ones that I apply when I target some of the most extreme cases. It's implementing barriers or just mental stoppers that makes us think before taking an action. Some of the things that I use, for example, is something like a diamond day. You put a diamond in your calendar 1 or 2 days a week, and by implementing that, you're forcing yourself to know that you cannot spend on that day.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Right?
Yeah.
Or Moneyless Monday. We have Meatless Monday. What about Moneyless Monday? Where you're not allowed to spend on that Starbucks or whatever. But what it does is maybe you're going to save what, $7, $10? Okay. But at its root, it's mostly the visualization and the intention with how you're spending your own money.
I'll give you some additional hacks I've been writing about. I love those ideas. Everything I do is around the behavioral psychology of how we experience life. And so with money, what I realized is when we make a purchase, nice clothing, I play guitar, something like that, it's the dopamine release that's the real value. We acquire the thing and it's nice to have, but the fact that we took possession of it is where we get our dopamine. So some people have the propensity to keep on buying because it feels good to buy. So one technique to kind of slow that down is I want to buy a guitar, for example. It's a high-end guitar. It costs over $1,000. So what I said is I want it now, but I can't spend it now. I want to delay it. So I bought a Lego set. You can buy it for $5, a cheaper Lego set of a guitar. And every time I save $10 more, I have an account called The New Guitar. Every time I put $10 there, I put one more piece of the Lego set together. It's 100 pieces. It's 100 pieces.
Fun.
Yeah, it's fun. And what happens is there's a dopamine release. So my guitar is halfway built. It's on my desk at home. Every time I put a Lego piece in there, I'm like, oh, I'm a little closer. But I feel the dopamine. I feel a form of possession happening. So actually delaying it isn't as painful. So that's one technique. I'll give you perhaps my favorite technique, and I share it in my book, is vendors are intentionally designing their practices to actually confuse consumers. Subscription models. If you subscribe to my Netflix equivalent, I want to charge you a dollar amount that I know you'll spend, but it's low enough that you'll forget about it. So the $19.99, that's a very specific reason. It feels like it's not much, but $20 over a year is $250. Times all of your subscriptions, it could be thousands. So here's a technique. Get a new credit card, believe it or not. Get a credit card and put only subscriptions on there. At my house, I have one credit card that says, and I wrote it on with a marker, it says subscriptions. When that statement comes in, all I see is all my subscriptions. And I'm like, I spent $400 in subscriptions in 1 month? How do you even do that? I had this thing called, it's a rowing machine that had a $40 subscription. I'm like, I'm not even using this thing. It brought this shocking, painful awareness, and I slashed that stuff by more than half. So that's another technique to have this awareness. It talks to you. It's all about the mind.
And just those thought process can be also very insightful for you to think about at home. Techniques that works for you. And I think that you will find a lot of enjoyment just thinking about how can you enhance your money and your wealth through unique techniques. That is not just about, oh, I'm going to put this money on my saving account that month. Yes, that's step 1.0, but make it so that it works for you.
Yeah, work with your natural wiring and behavior. So the working title of my new book, it's called Made for Money. I may change it, but why I called it.
I like it actually. Made for money.
Because we are wired. I did research all the way back to the Neanderthal. And the humans of the past and humans today were designed first to gather, hunt and gather, then to store, to save, and then distribute. So I would hunt for a woolly mammoth. I would preserve it by burying it underground or smoking it or different things, and then I'd consume it over time. You don't just get and consume everything up because then you're starving later. Well, our wiring is always hunt, gather, store, accumulate. So we have to have a system that allows us to get in chunks of money in. You get that paycheck every 2 weeks or a week, whatever. There's your chunk of money. Store it in a way. Now you know how to carve it up at your bank. Use Relay, right? And then you slowly feed the tribe through these different accounts. That's the core principles of how we're wired. You got to work with your natural self.
Excellent. Is there anything that, Mike, you would like to complement to tell our audience that has an interest about money, maybe not to the passion that we both share, but that you would want to share just in general? Because we've spoken about profit first, but you've written countless amount of books. What has been maybe one big thing that you would want to end our discussion together?
You're really affected by the people you surround yourself with. So I've had some people who've read Profit First, my other work on money, and have become very financially successful through time, and then unwound the whole thing because the people they were around said, that's not who you are. You don't deserve that. And they believed the mythology of the people they were around, the people pulling them down. Conversely, you can insert yourself into a group of people that are passionate about wealth, what it means in societal contribution, what you can do with it. Like, that's what your group is about. Like, these folks listening in, like, team up together. Become a tribe of supporters, but be very careful of your past contacts if they're the naysayers. The biggest struggle I found in any progress in life is the 5 or 6 people around you. What they're barking in your ear, we believe it. So be very careful about who you surround yourself with when it comes to financial management.
Awesome. Mike, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a joy, man.
I love those discussions. Guys, think about some of the concepts that we've discussed together and start implementing them just slowly. Don't overshoot for the moon, but then get the reward that you're actually taking action toward enhancing your financial situation. We hope you enjoy this type of content. We invite you to like and subscribe. Until then, I see you guys next time. À bientôt.